thank you very much, Andrea, for inviting me. I will share my screen and start my presentation. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes,
Yep.
we
Yes,
can.
we can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, Andrea, in your introduction, you said many things, and obviously we won't have time to cover everything today. So I'm going to focus in this session just on the specific area of connecting VOC data to the journey map and seeing how we can do the in-depth analytics in real time, which is the essential thing. Just a word about Semantica. Semantica was established by CCXP experts, so it's actually combining the knowledge of the business consulting area of customer experience together with innovative technology. So we think that the combination of both of them is what is unlocking the customer experience benefits, and everything that we've heard during the sessions today is definitely very, very important. But when we get to the practice, it is the combination of this knowledge plus the technology, which is essential today, that is actually doing the business and is bringing the results. The Semantica framework, CX framework is vast. It's starting from the CX strategy and goes until the implementation, but everything is based on the Semantica journey management platform. In this session, I'm going to focus just on the second part, which is mapping customer journeys and integrating VOC data. And I'm going to walk this through an example, a sample scenario that will demonstrate how we do that. When we are speaking about the Semantica journey management platform, we actually have three parts. The first one is creating customer journeys. The second one is managing CX program. And the third one is connecting the voice of the customer data in order to transform the map into dynamic maps that are living over time. In this presentation, I'm going to focus about the VOC connection between the journey map and the data that flows from the outside, and we'll see how we do the integration together. So let's speak about the next generation journey mapping. We were very focused always on doing journey maps. We had the habitude to do journey maps in that way on canvases, sticky notes. People were assembling together to try and map their experience of their customer segments, building personas, and then at the end of the day, issuing a canvas. Today in the Corona period, this has been transformed into a virtual journey mapping, but actually the result is quite the same in the sense that at the end of the day, what you get is a journey map. But this journey map is the perception of the organization. It is about a persona, which is representing customer segment going through a journey, and then it stays as a static journey map. And that's the big challenge. Whether you do it digitally or whether you do it manually in a canvas in a room with people, with a bunch of people, at the end of the day, this is something that stays as static information. So how do you actually turn these journey maps into something that you can make them vital, something that will be updated automatically over time and will also reaffirm the perception that you had of a persona and a customer journey? And I think that the answer lays in a scenario which I will go through, starting with building a persona. We are going to see today, we'll speak about Philippe Montelimar, which is a purchase manager, and we is designing a journey map. We're designing a customer journey map for this person in Semantica, and building the different stages of the journey. Afterwards, we're analyzing the interaction. So we are actually trying to figure out from each interaction of Philippe Montelimar, what went well, what went wrong, and what type of insights do we have from these interactions. We're also measuring the level of satisfaction of Philippe. Then we are continuing into the sentiment map. So the aggregation of all the different sentiments over the journey are represented in what we call a sentiment map. So we can follow up on the level of satisfaction. We're continuing with the integration of the voice of the customer data that flows into the Semantica application. And at the end of the day, we have analytics that are crossing the information between what we've mapped in the journey map and between the VOC data, and we're bringing them to life in an analytical way with many other dashboards. So let's have a look now in the system itself, how this whole process goes through with the focus on the VOC part. So I'm switching into the application, And here we are in the journey mapping tool of Cemantica. So we have our friend Philippe Montelimar. He's a purchase manager, and Philippe is walking through this journey from discovering about the offer, then considering to buy Furniture Savvy. Furniture Savvy is a company that is producing office supplies to different companies around the world. And Philippe Montelimar, as a purchase manager from Lyon, he wants now to order from this company. So he's considering about buying the product, goes to the website, he's reading about them, then he decides to select the product. So from the catalog, he's selecting, then he's moving to an order of the selections, he's being invoiced by email, he's getting delivered so he can follow up on the website on the delivery schedule and when he's going to receive the office supplies. And afterwards, he calls the support center. Then he maybe wants to complain about one of the tables he received that wasn't delivered or was damaged and wasn't installed properly. So this is a classical journey of a B2B journey between a purchase manager and a company that is selling office supplies. When we have this journey, for each one of the interactions, we are also analyzing the level of satisfaction of the persona from the interaction with the brand. So Philippe Montelimar interacting with Furniture Savvy. In each one of the interaction points, we are documenting what is the level of satisfaction. Based on this level of satisfaction, and I will scroll down, we have the sentiment map that I showed in the PPT. The sentiment map is showing us the level of the aggregated level of satisfaction of Philippe Montelimar in the different stages of the journey from all the touch points. So this is an aggregation. Based on that, this is the customer perception. The people building the journey maps are the organization itself. So these are the people from Furniture Savvy that have built this journey map. This is their perception. For each one of the interactions, they will map what are the positive things, what are the negative things, and what types of insights they have. And at the end of the day, they will all reassemble to this type of scenario, which is showing the level of satisfaction. But the big question here, and this is what I was trying to say before, is how do you transform this, which is your perception as an organization, how do you validate, you do the invalidate phase, that your voice of the customer data is actually showing you that the customer segment, which is Philippe Montelimar is representing, is actually behaving in the same way. How do we know that? And for that, we've built the second module. So this is the customer journey map. Behind the customer journey map, we have a platform. This is the Cemantica application. We want to cross the customer journey information that we saw on the map, and we want now to attract voice of the customer data into the platform and then to cross them together. So how do we do that? I'm going to take as an example a voice of the customer product. It can be anyone. It doesn't have to be this one. This is just an example. This product is called Customer Voice. In Customer Voice, I have different surveys. I know that Philippe Montelimar in the order phase, I think is pretty satisfied. But I want to validate that this level of satisfaction that was achieved as an outcome of the journey mapping process is also behaving this way in real time. So we've created an order delivery feedback survey, very simple survey with 4 questions that I want to send to customers that are part of the segment of Philippe Montelimar. And this is work I've done before, of course, as segmentation of my database to decide which are the segment that is being represented by Philippe Montelimar. And what I do is that I am going to send the survey by email, and I'm going to send the survey to myself. Now this survey is out. I'm supposed to receive an email with the survey. The survey will contain a link to questions, and here it is. I got the email. I'm clicking on the survey like any other survey platform. And here I have the questionnaire that I am going to fill as Eytan, which is a customer. I'm a customer that is being represented by the persona, probably Philippe Montelimar. I don't know that as an organization. Let's say that I'm not really satisfied. So I'm dissatisfied. I waited longer than expected to the delivery. And actually, I don't really want to recommend this type of company to my friends or colleagues. I don't have any specific thoughts to share. I'm just submitting my survey. So I'm an Eytan customer. I filled my survey. I received a thank you message. Now this information is going automatically into the Semantica application. So looking here at all the contact interactions, I will sort them, and here it is. This is my interaction. What do I see here? I see that the system captured that there was an interaction came from a customer in the email touchpoint. I see the name of the customer. I see that this customer is related to the Philippe Montelimar segment because I already did the segmentation before. I see that the sentiment level is 1. The sentiment level was calculated by the system based on the answers that were received from the survey, that he wasn't satisfied, that he gave an NPS score 2, that he wasn't that he waited longer than expected, and by the fact that he didn't answer the fourth question about sharing his thoughts, the system concluded that the sentiment level is 1. I also have here the interaction date, and I see that it is automatically related to the stage order in the journey of Furniture Savvy. I also have on the right side the source of information. I decided that this is a VOC source of information. In the same manner, I could have connected also other sources of information like NPS survey, web contact request, call center satisfaction, indications, social networks, many other channels. This is an example of just one of them. Taking now this interaction in place, I can go back to my journey map and I can activate in Semantica the black line. The black line is representing the level, the real customer feedback collected from real customers over time on the different stages of the journey. This allows me to compare the behavior of Philippe Montelimar, which is represented by the orange line here, with the real customers that are related to this segment, which is the black line. The differences I have here on the order phase, which is the one I was now trying to focus on, where I see I have an experience which is inferior versus what I imagined when I did the journey mapping workshop, we thought that it was higher. The gap between them is either because Philippe Montelimar is not defined properly, then maybe we need to amend the persona profile, or maybe this customer is not related to the right persona segment. Maybe I need to attach him to someone else if the behavior is not in line with what I expected from my persona. So the flow of information which goes here is at the end of the day analyzed in dashboards. These dashboards, they have many forms. This is one of the examples of the possible dashboards where I can focus on the journey of Furniture Savvy and I can have a look about the behavior of my customer versus my personas. I can see the sentiment level over the different touch points, over the stages of the journey, and also my sentiment level over time based on the data that I have provided. So we are able to take on one side the customer journey map and the output of the journey mapping session and cross it with voice of the customer information, as you saw in this specific scenario, initiating a survey, answering the survey by a customer, then the information is automatically gathered in the Semantica platform. This interaction is automatically connected to the stage of the journey, and then I go to the journey map and I can see on the journey map the difference between the orange line, the persona perception, versus the black line. In that same manner, we are able to integrate with about 70 different systems like Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, Oracle, SAP, Marketo, MailChimp, SurveyMonkey was also mentioned. All of these are systems we can plug into the Semantica platform and then cross it the journey versus the voice of the customer interaction, which is the record that we see here. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Eytan. That was really useful for us. I have one question.
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit more about how you integrate structured and unstructured data?
So there are two things here. One, when the data is structured, then that means that the company has already done some kind of work of doing the sentiment analysis. So for example, they took a survey, they have a score for the customer satisfaction that the system can plug in. The second thing about unstructured data, when you have data that you didn't receive already analyzed with the sentiment analysis, the system has a mechanism of sentiment analysis which scans the text and then gives a satisfaction score to each interaction. So you can actually combine structured data that you just flow in and the system takes it as is, and unstructured data where you're asking the system to do the analysis by herself.
Thank you so much, Eytan. And I really like your presentation. You have an amazing tool and it's very, very useful for everybody. Laura, do you have any other questions to Eytan?
Hi, Eytan.
Hi,
It was really interesting to hear your piece. There are a couple of questions on Vito, so let me ask those questions from you. The first one is, any tips on how to link persona segments to specific survey respondents? Eytan?
Yes, so I would say that the linkage between the persona and the customer answering the survey is, first of all, a work that needs to be done before. This is one method that you do the segmentation before you know which are the customer segment that are related to the persona profile. If you don't know and the customer is not related to a persona, then what we do, we have a mechanism. I didn't show it here. The system is it's vast. I was just focusing on VOC. We have here a personas module where we are analyzing the profile of the customer that was responding to the email, to the survey. And based on the profile, the data that we have in the system about the customer, we are performing an automatic match to the closest persona. The match is done either by the analysis of the psychological profiles, meaning analyzing the interactions of the customer and detecting a behavioral pattern. We call that archetypes. Or we are doing that based on demographic data, trying to find the closest persona profile that will match in terms of demographic description. These are the two methods.
Yeah, thank you, Eytan. I'm checking maybe one more, that many companies recognize the importance of mapping already many years ago, so mapping the customer journeys. And some of them started to map the journeys even before any kind of big customer experience program they announced. So, for example, think of the telecommunications industry, but also other industries. And I'm just wondering that what's your opinion? So companies are mapping the journeys once, or they are really on managing the journeys and mapping it like more times a year. So what do you see?
Well, this is another thing we have in the system is about SEEK's program management. I think that when we're speaking about journey mapping, we have to understand that this is not the beginning and the end of a SEEK's program. There are things happening before, things happening after. So I think that when we are speaking about the companies that map the journeys, they are in a good position just to continue the work and to make it dynamic journey mapping. This is for me the difference between static journey mapping and dynamic journey mapping. So things that were done before were static if nothing really happened afterwards and if no one refined the journey. And in order to refine the journey, if you're doing that on a canvas with sticky notes, manually coming and changing sticky notes is not something organizations would usually do. That's why technology is coming here to assist us. And I think that all the companies that have done journey maps so far, they need to find themselves migrating into a concept of managing CX program with the whole cycle. So taking it from really defining the strategy in a solution, designing the journey maps and the persona, ideating solution, generating an action plan, and then managing the CX project and measuring how the actions have impacted the outcome of the customer journey map. That's why the black line, which I showed on the map, has its importance, because this is the one that is giving you the indicator if your perception of the journey that is reflected by the orange line is the right one. Maybe you are mistaken in the segment that you are targeting.
Yeah, thank you so much for your answers. Maybe do you want to say a last word to the viewers? So, I mean, whatever you really want them to do when they are going back home.
So I think that my conception of all of that is that the world I think we were very used to say we have consultants that are doing customer experience and we have technologies that are doing customer experience, and they gave the example of Medallia and Qualtrics, and on the other hand you have all the speakers we have today, CX consultants. I think that today, especially in these times when we can't really meet physically, the connection between the business consulting customer experience and the technology is vital. One cannot progress without the other. It doesn't help you just implement technologies that don't make sense for the business, as it's not enough just to bring good consultants that are not coming with the technology that will help you really drive and do customer experience. So it's the conception with the technology together that for me is unleashing the power of customer experience.
Thank you so much. And of course, your tool is fantastic to manage it. So I would recommend this tool to everyone. So thank you so much again for accepting our invitation.